All right, we are down here in the beautiful Tauranga and sitting with the lovely Sue Grey. So you're standing in the local by-election. Why did this election mean so much to you, given that it is a short election?
It's a super important election, really, because we've had no real representation in Wellington for the freedom, the democracy, for the people who really care about the people of New Zealand instead of these kind of globalist agendas. And so although it's only going to be a year or a year and a half until the next general election, it's a chance to get someone onto the inside of the system who can get information, share with the outside what's going on, and just put a whole new perspective on things.
Being a lawyer, you know that language does have a certain meaning behind it. What did you mean when you said globalist agenda?
Well, I'm really concerned that our policies from our existing MPs are being driven by multinationals who are funding them rather than for the people of New Zealand. And we're getting a lot of information about this now. You know, this World Economic Forum, the meetings with BlackRock that the Prime Minister's been at recently, it all points in the direction that she's more concerned about what people overseas think of her than what's good for the people of New Zealand.
You've talked in previous events that you've had about unity. What does unity mean for you rolling into this election?
So unity is the people of New Zealand learning to listen to each other again, respect each other, and actually be proud that we're all one in one country. Someone said to me, it's like all being in a waka together and rowing in the same direction because we're all in this together. So we feel that over the last few years, the government has been very divisive and there's been these policies of discrimination with the mandates, and we've got a lot of ground to build up to get unity in our people. The other side to that is getting unity in our representation, and there's been a lot of minor parties starting up because they are concerned about the lack of democracy and freedom. And there's a concern that we need to work together because there's really no point having a whole lot of small votes dividing each other when if we work together we can get perhaps enough votes to actually really make a difference by getting a voice into Wellington.
What does it look like to work together with other representatives though? Is that a coalition of sorts? What does that look like? Is it an umbrella organisation? How do you see that working?
Look, there's lots of different ways how we can work together. One idea is that we have some sort of umbrella party that then has other minor or emerging parties working under it. And some of the things we've talked about is that we would all have to agree on the sort of fundamentals of freedom, democracy, accountability, and sort of putting New Zealand before the globalist agenda. But then within that, we'd all be able to still have our own policies and represent a whole range of different perspectives. And it's a bit like the conscience votes on a whole lot of issues that we get in Parliament at the moment, where it's up to an MP to decide their personal view on things. Well, this is a bit of a middle ground where a representative of a certain sub-party within the coalition could vote on the basis of their party's views. The other thing, of course, is though, when you've got a whole lot of different people in the room listening to each other and talking to each other, you tend to actually get a really good decision that everybody supports because all the perspectives are out there and you're looking for a win-win that suits everybody. So most of the time, my view, well, I hope that we would be able to find a common ground that works for everyone. There's other different possibilities as well. With the Tauranga by-election, there's obviously only one candidate is going to win. It's a bit like different than a general election where you've got 5% minimum threshold to get in and where there's a clear advantage on people working together. Here you've basically got to get 50% of the vote or at least more votes than anybody else. So we need to look at ways where the candidates who are less likely to win will support the candidate that is more likely to win, so we do get a voice in Wellington.
What do you think matters the most to people living locally in the city heading into this election? What are their main concerns?
The concern that people have been telling me about is the lack of democracy. And it's a huge concern here because Nanaia took away the ability for people to vote for their local council. Well, first she put commissioners in the place of the local council, which was unpopular enough. But now with the local body elections coming up later this year, she said, well, we're not going to have any here in Tauranga and my commissioners will just continue for another 3 years. So that sense that people don't have a voice and that the commissioners know best and that the commissioners are getting paid massive salaries from the government is really annoying a lot of people, and especially when the council has made some really blundering decisions over the last few years and they're still making them. You know, that whole issue with Links Ave a couple of weeks ago with the council hearing, the commissioners clearly didn't want to listen to the people, even though there'd been over 5,000 people signed a local petition, which is a lot of people for a local petition. When the people started wanting to ask a few questions, the commissioners just took off out the back, left the room, wouldn't answer. But luckily we ended up having an impromptu community meeting, which worked out really well. But it was a real sign that the commissioners don't really understand democracy, and we really need to work hard to restore democracy and educate our representatives what we expect from them.
There's been a number of debates that have been held. However, it seems like National, ACT and Labour are all allowed in one debate and then all the independents have to go in the other one. What is your personal take on that? Do you think all candidates should be required to have a debate with every other candidate?
I definitely think that debate should be open for everybody, and maybe not all 12 will turn up, but at least everyone should be given a chance, because how can we vote for our preferred candidate if we don't even know who the candidates are and we don't have an opportunity to hear from them? And also you really do need them all in a room together so you can watch them, their answers, and compare their answers to the same questions. You know, this idea of, oh, we'll have the A team first and the others later, or the ones that the status quo doesn't like so much, we won't let them in the main debate. I mean, how can that ever be democracy? So yeah, look, absolutely having some forums where we all have the chance to be heard and where the public can come along and listen to everyone in one go will be brilliant.